However, when you do that, you will see that the old contents are available. So अगर आप
It is important for all of us and what uses spreadsheet has. Then we started with the basic terminology of Excel. So we talked about various terms that we normally use when we use Excel. For instance, we talked about workbook, which is nothing but an Excel file. We talked about worksheets, which are like pages in a book. So every Excel book, workbook, it has many sheets. By default, it has 3 sheets and you can add more sheets to it. So those are sheets. Sheets look like giant tables. Table consists of row and columns, and the rows, we said, they are numbered from 1 onwards, 1 to 3 and so on and so forth. Whereas the columns in Excel, they are labeled as A, B, C, D and so on and so forth. We also talked about cell, and we said that a cell is something which is formed by the intersection of rows and columns in Excel. And any data which you put is put in that cell. Then we also talked about the concept of active cell. An active cell was a cell which we click or select. As soon as we select any cell or click on any cell, that cell becomes active. And whatever I type through my keyboard, that data goes into the active cell. We also talked about the scroll bars, we talked about formula bar, we talked about name box, we talked about ribbon. Then we talked about some basic things that we do in Excel. So, for example, we discussed about after the terminology, we talked about how to organize our worksheets. So we can add worksheets, we can delete worksheets. We talked about also how to put color in the tabs of worksheets. We then talked about how to work in the cell. So to work in any cell, all that we need to do is click on that cell. And once we click on a cell, we can start entering any data or values into that cell. We can copy cells. We talked about copying, pasting, moving cells. We also talked about how to print a worksheet. So that was basically, more or less the scope of things that we discussed in the last class. Should I start with today's topic, or would you like us to wait a couple of
more? No, I think you can get started now.
All right. I'm sure all of you have received the data set which I shared with you. Of course, we'll be needing that data set, but we'll be needing it after, we cover the basic things. So, welcome to today's session on Excel. And let me just start presenting. I'll go a little slow in the beginning so that more people can join us, and you people can also get a feel of, what we are doing in Excel. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, thank you. So, in today's session, we are going to focus on working with math operations. We will learn about formulas and how to write these formulas using basic operators. We will talk about cell referencing, and we will discuss how to copy formulas and how to use different types of cell referencing while we copy formulas. Then we will proceed to discuss about the basic aspects of a function, what are functions, what they do, and in particular, we are going to focus on AutoSum and some common functions. 5 functions we will take up. These are sum, average, count, max, and min. And lastly, we are going to understand and learn how to insert subtotals in our data set. So let us begin with the first topic, which is writing formulas using basic operators. Now, what are formulas? Dear friends, you already know that a formula is an expression which performs a calculation. So for example, if I want to add 2 numbers, then I will use a formula to add that number. So maybe if I want to add 2 plus 3, then I will write 2 plus 3 and I will add those numbers. In Excel also, when we enter data in the cells, if you remember from the last session, I told you you can enter numbers, text, and formulas in Excel cells. So today we are going to talk about how to enter formulas in Excel. For Excel to recognize an expression as a formula, we have to start it with an equal to sign. If you don't put an equal to sign, Excel is not going to read it as a formula. So you must put an equal to sign whenever you are trying to write a formula. So every formula has to begin with an equal to sign. Then you will give the inputs as far as the formula is concerned. So you may be using some numbers in the formula, you may be using some text in the formula. You can even insert cell references in the formula. What are cell references? Cell references are the addresses of the cells which may contain your data. So I may already have a worksheet wherein I may have some data there and I want to use that data in my formulas. So I can even put cell references in my formulas. The other thing which we use in our formulas are the operators. So basic operators in Excel, there are 4 commonly used basic operators. We have arithmetic operators, we have comparison operators, we have text operators, reference operators, and we can use any of these operators. And finally, once I have written the expression or typed the expression of the formula, to get the result of the formula, I will press enter. So, 3 aspects to writing a formula. Number 1, start with an equal to sign. Number 2, write the expression. Number 3, press enter key to get the result of the formula. Now, let me take you to an Excel sheet. This is not your data sheet that I've shared with you. This is just I'm opening an Excel sheet to show you how we can enter formulas in Excel. So let me just share that sheet with you. So this sheet is not a part of your data set because basically it doesn't really have much data. Right, so in this sheet, I'll just try to explain to you how to enter formula. I hope my Excel sheet is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, thank you. Now let me start with writing a formula in one of the cells. Suppose I want to add two numbers, 1 and 2. And so I have to write an expression for that. Now, in fact, before I start with a formula, let me just show you what happens if I do not enter an equal to sign. So I just write 1 plus 2 in my cell and I press enter. You can see that Excel does not make any calculation. It does not understand that you have put a formula. It just uses this as a text value. Now I want to write a formula. So what will I do? I will insert an equal to sign first. So just click on the cell where you want to type your formula and type equal to. Now type the numbers which you want to work with. So I want to add 1 and 2 again. So I'm just putting 1. Then I'm going to apply an operator on it. I use the mathematical. I'll show you the demonstration for the mathematical operations first. Your arithmetic operators consist of signs such as plus, minus, multiplication, division, and this one, last one that you can see is the raised to the power sign. So right now I'm just showing you with a plus sign. You can of course use any of the arithmetic operators in the formula depending on your requirement. So 1 plus 2. And now to get the answer of this formula, I will press the enter key. So you can see 3 is displayed in the cell. Another interesting thing about Excel is that please have a look. After pressing enter, the cell where you had typed the formula shows the result of the formula. But if you look at the formula bar over here, the formula bar still shows you the expression that you typed. So the formula is visible in the formula bar, whereas the result of the formula is visible in the cell where you wrote the expression. So my formula bar is showing me equal to 1 plus 2 and my cell is showing me the result which is 3. Sometimes in Excel, I may already have my data set on the Excel sheet. So I would not want to keep typing my numbers again and again while using them. But like over here, you can see there is a small set of numbers that I've written. Suppose I want to use some of these numbers and add these numbers or subtract these numbers. So what will I do? I can use the cell references in my formula. Now let me show you how to use cell references in the formula. Again, I begin with an equal to sign. And now I want to suppose add the values in cell A1, subtract B1 from it and then say divide it by A2. This is the expression that I want. So what will I do? I will start with my mathematical operator because I want to first add the values, then divide their sum by 2. So I just open the circular bracket. Now I will, to insert this reference A1, I can type A1 through my keyboard, but usually whenever we are using cell references, we should avoid typing the address of the cell. Instead, in Excel, there is a very simple way of inserting cell references. As soon as you click on any cell, after entering equal to in the expression, after starting with an equal to sign, wherever you click on the Excel sheet, that cell reference will automatically appear in your formula. So you can see I have simply clicked on the cell which I wanted to use and A1 is displayed in my cell. Now I want to add, so I'll put the mathematical operator plus. Now I want to, or maybe I want to subtract this time, so minus. I want to subtract B1 from it, so minus B1. Again, I have simply clicked on B1 and B1 is displayed in my cell. Now I will close my brackets and I want to divide it by the value in A2. So I will simply just insert the divide sign. In Excel, this is the divide sign that we use and click on the cell containing the value 2. And now I press enter to get the result of my calculation. So it is showing me 5 minus 1 divided by 2, which gives me 2. So this is the way in which you can use an arithmetic operator in Excel. And this is also how you insert references in a formula. Now, we can similarly use the comparison operators. Comparison operators consist of greater than, less than. This sign which is showing you both greater than and less than, this is the not equal to sign. In maths, we write not equal to as we write equal to and then we cross that equal to. In Excel, it shows the greater than, less than symbols together to mean not equal to. Then this, of course, is my greater than equal to. This is my less than equal to. Comparison operators are used whenever I have some comparison to do, logical comparison. So suppose I want to compare the values in cell A1 and B1. I will write the expression equal to A1. Again, I've just clicked on A1 and I will use the comparison operator greater than B1. Now, Excel will evaluate this formula to see whether the expression that I have written is correct or not. That means it will check whether A1 is greater than B1 or not. If A1 is greater than B1, expression is true, it will give me the answer as true. If the expression is false or wrong, it will give me false. So right now, when I press enter, I get true because 5 is greater than 1. So you can use any of the comparison operators in this manner. Then let me just show you how to use the text operators also. Text operators include ampersand sign. This sign which we sometimes call it as and in our English, this is called as ampersand sign. And this symbol ampersand, it is used for concatenating two text values. So text operators are used in text and they are used to concatenate. Concatenate means to join two text values. So suppose I want to, you can see over here in this cell, there is rain and there is fall written in the cells. If I want to write this as a single word rainfall in my cell, I can do that using my text operator. So I will just write equal to D1. Then I will give an ampersand sign. Click on the cell D2 and press enter. So you can see over here, it has joined the words rain and fall to give me rainfall as the answer. If I'm not using cell references, please remember that while using the text values in a formula, the values should be put in inverted commas if I'm not using cell references. For example, the same thing, let me just type it as rainfall. So I will just write rain within a pair of quotations. And then I will insert an and again within a quotation, I will write fall, close the quotation mark, and now I will press enter. This will give me rainfall. If I don't put the inverted commas, I will not get the correct answer. If I'm using cell references, there is no need for inverted commas. But if I'm not using cell references, if I'm just typing in the text values, I need to use my inverted commas. Now, the last type of operators that we use are the reference operators. What are reference operators? These are usually meant to give cell references, and you have two commonly used reference operators. One is a colon and the other one is comma. So colon is used to represent a range of cells. For example, suppose I want to add all the cells from A1 to B4. I can do that either by individually writing the cells and adding them, or suppose if I'm using a function. Of course, we have not done the functions. We will be coming to functions for the time being, but I'll explain you the function again. But for the time being, just focus on it from the perspective of the reference operator. So I'm using a function to add these values in the cells from A1 to B5. And I will just type this as the entire reference I will select. How will I select it? I will simply click on the first cell, hold my left mouse button and drag it across the entire range. I'll just show you again how am I doing it. Just click on the first cell, drag it to the entire range. You can see that it is showing me the range A1 to B4. And now I can close my brackets and press enter. It is showing me the sum of all the values which were written in the cells from A1 to B4. So A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4, their sum becomes 24. This is a colon showing the range. So whenever I want to use a range, I can give the first value in the range, for first cell reference in the range and the last cell reference in the range, and put a colon in between to indicate that this is the entire range that I'm referring to. If I'm not using an entire range, if I'm just adding, say, a couple of cells which are notched together, then I can do the same thing using comma. So what will I do? Again, equal to sum, this cell, I want to add to this cell a number, say 5. I also want to add to this the value in cell B3. So I want to add A1, B3, and I want to add 5 also. So I will separate each of these with a comma. So comma is used to give the next expression, next argument in any function. So close the bracket and press enter. It is showing me the result of the calculation. So I hope you have understood the various operators and how and where they are used. All right. Now we come to your data set. So I request all of you to please keep your data set handy. And we are going to first of all take up this data set, the first data set, which is the formula copying relative sheet that we are using. So let us see, suppose I have this data set where I have students' marks in theory, practical and internal assessment. And I want to calculate the total marks for 15 of my students. I have a small batch, 15 students. I want to calculate the marks for each of these 15 students. Now let's see how I will type the formula for calculating the total marks of all these students. For each student, I have written the values in each of the rows. So row number 3 consists of the marks of student 1. Row number 4 contains marks of student 2, and so on and so forth. So let me start by writing a formula. We've already learned how to write a formula. So for the first student, let me type in the formula. You can do it side by side with me. I have to add marks in theory, practical and internal assessment to obtain the total marks. So equal to, click on the cell containing the marks in theory, which is B3, put a plus sign, click on the cell containing marks in practical, another plus sign, and then click on the cell containing the internal assessment marks of the first student. Now press enter. It has calculated the marks for student number 1. For the total marks have been calculated. Now I have 15 students to calculate marks for. This may as well be 100 students or 500 students. If I have to add the marks of everybody individually, then it will take me a very long time. So Excel allows me to copy the formulas that I am using to other cells also. So what will I do? I will not have to put the formula again and again. I don't have to type the same expression again and again. It will take forever in a large data set. I will simply put my formula in the first data set, data point, and from there I'm just going to copy the formula. Now how am I going to copy the formula? Again, I'm revisiting what we discussed in the last session. How do I copy the cells? I can copy the cells either by the right click menu or from the home ribbon, copy and paste commands, or I can simply use Control C and Control V through the shortcut keys. But I'm not going to use any of these ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fill handle. What was the fill handle, if you remember? Once we put something, we could copy the value of the cell simply by dragging the cell down the column or across the row. So what should I do? I will take my cursor to the bottom right corner of the cell from where I want to copy the formula. And I will simply, now once the cursor, you can see it becomes a plus sign, black colored, thin black colored plus sign. Just drag this cursor, keep pressing the left mouse button, and drag the cursor to all the cells where I want to copy this formula, and then leave the mouse. You can see that automatically the entire calculations have been done. Now, interestingly, you are not seeing 90 in all the cells. You are actually seeing the total of marks for each student. So Excel understands that if I'm copying the formula, I am trying to use different cells for copying. I'm not copying the same cell values everywhere. Excel automatically adjusts the formula when I copy it down the column or across the row. Let me just show you how Excel has changed my formula without my having to do anything. Yeah. So just have a look over here. I had typed this formula. This was my B3 plus C3 plus D3. Now, when I copy it down the column, you can see that the cell references have changed. B3 has become B4, C3 has become C4, D3 has become C4. Then it has again changed to B5, C5, D5, B6, C6, D6. So Excel has automatically adjusted my calculations. It has understood that I am trying to add the column B, C and D values in the third row. Then it has changed the column B, C and D values to the next row number when I have copied the formula. This kind of copying of cells where my cell references are automatically adjusted on copying the formula down the column or across the row is called as relative referencing. This is called as relative referencing. But sometimes, let's go to the next example in the data set, because sometimes I may not want my formula to change. So let me just take you to the next sheet. This sheet is on cell referencing. Please refer to the second sheet which is there in your data set. This is on cell referencing. If you look at this sheet, let me explain you what is being done in this, and then we'll see how to do it. Here I have data for some employees. I have 10 employees whose basic salaries are given to me. These employees are also being paid dearness allowance and traveling allowance. Dearness allowance is paid at the rate of 10% of the basic salary. So for Manan, his basic is 61,000, so his DA will be 6,100. And TA is paid at 5% of the basic. So that will be 5% of 61,000, which will be 3,050. Similarly, for all employees, DA is paid at 10% of the basic, TA is paid at 5% of the basic. The employee gets a gross salary. For those of us who are working, we already know how salary components are added. So, but for those of you who are students and are not familiar with it, I'm just telling this for those. Your gross salary will consist of the basic, the dearness allowance and the traveling allowance. So the sum of basic, DA and TA will be entered in the gross. And on the gross salary, tax will be deducted by the employer. For simplicity, we are assuming a uniform tax rate for everybody, which is given to me as 30%. So everybody has to pay tax at the rate of 30%. And what is my take home or net salary? Net salary will be nothing but gross salary minus the amount of tax which is deducted. That will be the net salary that I receive. Now, let us understand how to make the calculations. Basic salaries I have already entered in my cells. I want to now calculate DA. Now, let's see what will happen if I just do the same thing as I did earlier. So, let's do it. Let's see what happens. I'll do equal to basic, multiply it with 10%, press enter. It's giving me 6,100, correct? This is the calculation theoretically also. If I make, this is what I should get. Now, as before, I don't want to calculate individual values by entering the formula again and again. So I am just going to copy it down the column. Let's see what happens. You can see that it is giving me errors. It's not making the calculations. Why? Because let's see what is happening to my formula when I'm trying to copy this expression down the column. My B6 is becoming B7, B8, B9, which is what I want also, because for Anju, I want to multiply the B7 with the rate that I have been given. So when I am doing that, B7 is changing, that is fine, that is what I want also, B6, B7, B8. But look at what is happening to the rate cell containing the rate. C4 is the cell which contains my rate at which the calculations are being made, rate of dearness allowance. This cell is also changing. So from C4 it is becoming C5, then C6, then C7. But I don't want that. I want it to remain C4 only, because this is where I have written my rate. So that means relative reference is not going to work for me in this case. So there are other references. Excel also understands this problem, and Excel knows that there should be other ways of referring to cells so that you are able to make the calculations as you desire. So there are 3 types of cell references which you can use in Excel. What are these 3 types of cell referencing? The first is relative cell reference, that we already saw how it works. Which means if I am referring to a cell A2, I will just type A2, or I will just click on A2 and insert the reference for A2. But there are 2 other kind of cell references which we should know about, and we will be using both of these cell references in this particular question to demonstrate how to use your cell referencing. So we have absolute cell reference. An absolute cell reference is used when we want to fix the cell position. So if we want to fix the row as well as the column location of the cell which is being used in the formula, we are going to use the absolute reference. We are going to use the absolute cell reference. To make the reference absolute, I am simply going to insert a $sign before the row as well as the column position. So row and the column position, before each of these, I am going to insert a $sign. How do I insert the $sign? By simply using the keyboard. So instead of using A2 as the reference, I am going to use $A, $2 as my cell reference. And this will fix my cell. Now, if I copy an absolute reference anywhere, A2 will remain A2. It will not change at all. So, A2 will not change. In an absolute reference, it will remain $A, $2. But sometimes I may be only interested in fixing either the row or the column position. And this can be done using mixed cell reference. So if I have to use a mixed cell reference, that means if I only want to fix either the row or the column position, then whatever one I want to fix, I will insert a $sign before that. So if I want to fix the column position, I am going to use $A2. If I want to fix the row position, I am going to use $A2. And both of these are referred to as my mixed references. So 3 kind of references are there: relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and mixed cell reference. Relative cell reference does not fix the row and column position. And if you use this in a formula and copy the formula, both the row and column position may change. Absolute cell reference, neither row nor the column position will change. Mixed cell reference, either the row or the column position is fixed. Which one is fixed? The one before which you put a $sign. So let us go back to our data set in light of what we've understood and continue with the example that we were taking. Yes. So now let us again come back to the calculation of our DA. So like I said, I want that basic salary should change. So I will insert equal to B6 and I will multiply it with the rate, that means C4. And what do I want? I want that the row position should not change when I copy it down the column. So 4 should remain 4 only, right? So let me just fix that. Now, how can I fix that? I told you can put a dollar sign. अब आप कहेंगे अभी तो आपने बोला था कि आप क्लिक किया करो, टाइप मत किया करो. अब आप कह रहे हो डॉलर साइन इंसर्ट करो, तो डॉलर साइन इंसर्ट करने के लिए तो हमें फिर पूरे सेल में टाइपिंग करनी पड़ेगी. नहीं, आपको नहीं करनी पड़ेगी. आपको अगर इसको रेफरेंसेस चेंज करने हैं तो यू कैन डू दैट विद द हेल्प ऑफ F4 की. So you can see over here, I have pressed my F4 key. This F4 key is a toggle button. If I click it once, it becomes absolute reference. If I click it again, it becomes a mixed reference with the row position fixed. If I click it again, it becomes mixed reference with column position fixed. So right now I want to fix my row, so I will just keep pressing it till I get the desired combination. And I will now press enter. So this calculation is correct. Now I will just copy this down the column. Again, same way, take my cursor to the bottom right corner of the cell, drag it down the column. Now you can see it is showing me the correct calculations. Now TA, I have to calculate as 5% of basic. This can be done in a similar way. Alternatively, if I am feeling too lazy, I may not want to type the expression even a second time. So what I want is that I just put the formula here and I just copy it for TA also. Let me just try to do that. Let me just copy this formula to TA. You can see it's not showing me the correct answer. It should be 3050, but it is only showing me 305. Why? Because if you look at the formula in the formula bar, it is showing you as C6 into D$4. Now, you can see that C4 has become D4, which is what I wanted when I copy it across the column, across the row. But my B6 has become C6. Here it was B6. This has also become C6. But I want to still use the basic. I don't want to use the DA as a basis for calculation of TA. I want to use the basic as the basis of calculation for TA. So what do? I will fix the column position in the initial formula that I put. So let me re-put the formula over here. So here, let me just change my formula. What am I doing? I'm just going to fix the column position in this case. Instead of using B6, I'm using $B6 because I want to copy it across the row. If I didn't want to copy it across the row, then I don't have to make it mixed reference. I'm still getting the correct answer for this column. Now I will just copy it down the column. You can see that these calculations have not changed because these were already correct. But I have changed my formula. Now let me just copy this entire column. Just a second. Yeah. Now let me just copy this column down across the row. So you can see over here, now my calculations for TA are also correct. So of course, I have used the mixed reference, both types of mixed reference, to show you how to use these references and when to use these references. Mixed references are ordinarily used whenever we are planning to copy a formula both down the column as well as across the row. If you are only copying it down the column or only copying it across the row, you do not have to use mixed references, then even absolute reference will work. Absolute and relative together will work. So if I only had to copy it down the column, I could even have used, instead of C$4, I could have used $C$4 and I would have still done my work. But I wanted to copy it across the row also, so I have used mixed reference. Now let's calculate gross salary. For calculating gross salary, I will be adding basic, DA and TA. So equal to basic plus DA plus TA. Press enter. I get the gross salary. Now, which reference to use? Should I change the reference or is it the correct reference? I have to copy it down the column. Yes. Do I want the values of the cells to change? Yes. Will I be copying this formula across the row also? No. So I will simply be using relative referencing. So just copy it down the column. And I get gross salaries for all the employees. Now coming to the calculation of tax. Now for calculation of tax, I am saying that everybody has to pay tax on the gross salary based on this fixed rate of 30%. So how do I fix this rate? Again, I can use either the, first of all, gross in any case I want to change for every employee. So for employee 1, I want to use E6. For employee 2, I want to use E7. For employee 3, I want to use E8 and so on and so forth. So this will remain relative and I'm not copying it anywhere else across the row. So this will remain relative. And moreover, I want the tax rate, however, to remain the same. So what will I do? I will just click on this cell and I'm going to make this cell absolute and press enter and copy this cell down the column. Now I'm going to show you the formula view of what we've done. You can see how references are changing. From DA down the column, you can see B6 is changing to B7, B8, B9, but $4 is not changing because we are copying it down the column and we had fixed the row. Column तो वही रहेगा जब हम उसी column में copy कर रहे हैं. Row ही change होनी थी, row को हमने fix कर दिया, तो row भी change नहीं हो रही. Now coming to this cell, we have copied this formula here also. You can see B6 is changing to B7, B8. Despite copying across the row, my column position I have fixed for B6, $B6. So B is remaining the same even on copying across the row. Otherwise, if I copy across the row, this was becoming C6. So B6 remains B6 and C4 becomes D4, which is what I wanted. This becomes B6, C6, D6 and it is copied down the column. And here you can see that I've used an absolute reference for tax and relative reference for the gross salary, which works in all the cells. So my tax rate is fixed, gross salaries are changing. Again, I would like to reiterate, for calculation of DA and TA, if I were not to copy the formula across the row, which is my discretion, of course, I may or may not want to copy it. If I'm not copying it, there is no issue and it will still give me the correct answer if I use the absolute reference. If you're using absolute reference, just don't copy it across the row. Copy it down the column, it will be working perfectly. Finally, let me just come to the calculation of net salary. And for net salary, I am going to do equal to my net salary is going to be gross minus tax. So equal to the cell containing gross minus the cell containing the tax calculation. Enter, copy it down the column. I get all my salaries in this way. So this is how I can use various types of references to create a worksheet. Now quickly let me come to the functions. So before I show you how to use the functions, let me just show you the basic thing about functions. So this is my functions. What are functions? Functions in Excel are predefined formula. Excel understands that there may be many expressions you will have to write again and again. For example, you may want to keep adding numbers again and again at various times. You may want to calculate products. You may want to calculate the square roots. You may want to calculate arithmetic means. You may want to count expressions and so on and so forth. So for convenience that you do not have to remember the formula and you do not have to keep typing the formula again and again, Excel has some predefined functions. So what are functions? Functions are predefined formulas. Just like we said, formulas begin with an equal to sign, functions also always begin with an equal to sign. This is followed by the name of the function. So whatever function I'm using, I should know the name of the function, write an equal to sign, type the name of the function. Excel will automatically start prompting you. जैसे ही आप पहला अल्फाबेट डालेंगे, Excel आपको लिस्ट दिखानी शुरू कर देगा कि कौन सा फंक्शन चाहिए, आप उसमें से भी चूज कर सकते हैं. So function name followed by the arguments. Arguments are the inputs which you give for the formula. For example, if I'm adding two numbers, then the two numbers which I have to use are my arguments. They are my inputs. So arguments are put within a pair of round brackets and they are put in a certain order. That order may be fixed for some functions it doesn't matter. The arguments are separated by using a comma. Some arguments may be mandatory, that means to get the result you must give these arguments. Some arguments may be optional. The default values may be assumed by Excel even if you don't give the optional arguments. So this is what my functions look like. Now specifically we are going to talk about 5 functions which you can see under the AutoSum drop down list. These functions are sum, average, count, max and min. I'll quickly go through what these functions do and then we are going to use these functions, we are going to insert them both as functions also through AutoSum. So what is sum? Sum function adds numbers. The syntax of sum function is equal to sum within brackets number 1, comma number 2, number 3 and so on and so forth. Number 1, 2, number 3 are all numbers which you want to add. These may be numbers, these may be cell references, these may be cell ranges, these may be other formulas also. It will give you the addition of all these. Average function calculates the arithmetic mean of the numbers. Expression you can see is similar to that of sum. It takes numbers, it takes cell references, it takes formulas. Count is a function which is used to count how many numeric data points do you have in a given data set. So whatever value 1, value 2 you are putting in your function, how many of these are numbers? Count does not count texts. It does not count blanks. It only counts numbers. So suppose I have a data set. I want to check how many values have I put. Have I put all the values? कहीं कोई value गलत तो नहीं आ गई? In the sense text तो नहीं आ गया? या मैंने कोई value skip तो नहीं कर दी? 100 डालनी थी, 99 ही डाल दी.
Ma'am, if I can just interrupt you, I would request you to please stick to English because we've got participants from all around the country.
Okay, no problem, Somili. So count function, what it does is that it counts how many numeric data points you have. So suppose I have a large data set, I am generating numbers and I had to put actually 100 values and I want to check whether I have put all the 100 values or not. So I will just use the count function to see how many values are there. If the number, value returned is less than 100, it means I have forgotten to put a couple of values or I've put the values incorrectly as text. So that is what my count function does. Then there is max function. Max function returns the largest value from the data set. So if I want to see what is the largest number in the data set, I can do that using max. Min does the opposite. It returns the smallest number from the data set. So what is the smallest value if I want to find? I will use min. For using these functions, I am going to show you how to use these. This is the syntax for your reference. Let us come to the third sheet which I had shared with you in my workbook. So functions. So here I have 5 set of data and I have to do 5 things I want to apply these functions. The first function is, the first thing that I have to do is I have to, for data set 1, I have to calculate the sum total of the numbers in my data set 1. So I can do it here. I am using sum function equal to sum. I will just write equal to, write the name of the function. You can see as soon as I type the name of the function, it is showing me all the variations which are available. I want to use this one only. I will open my brackets. It starts showing me the arguments to be entered. Now I will just enter this entire range by simply selecting this entire range and I will close my brackets and press enter. It is showing me the sum total of all the values from B3 to B17. Alternatively, if I suppose do not want to use the sum function, or if I don't know how to use the sum function, I can do the same using AutoSum also. To use AutoSum, you can have a look at the home ribbon. Under the editing group of commands, you have this kind of an AutoSum command there. Depending on the version, this may just be a summation sign, or it may be AutoSum written completely. So from here also I can insert my AutoSum. Alternatively, under the formulas tab also, formulas ribbon also, you can see over here there is the AutoSum command available. So from either place you can insert AutoSum. How will I insert the AutoSum? Now AutoSum is used in one condition. It is used when you are trying to calculate the result for a data set which is arranged either in a row or in a column. If there are any gaps in the row or column, then it may not give you the correct result. You will have to adjust the range. So right now I have all the values in this range. So what will I do? I will just insert AutoSum from here. I can either simply double click. I can simply double click on this, and you can see it is automatically inserting equal to sum within brackets B3 to B17. I only have to press enter to get the result, which is the same as the result that I got here, because basically it is only inserting the sum function. Alternatively, if you look at the drop down list of AutoSum, here you can see the sum function. So I can also simply select this function and then press enter. It is automatically taking in range all the cells above the cell which have some numbers. So this entire data set is being assumed automatically. I don't have to define a range while using AutoSum. So press enter, you will get the result. Similarly, I can use the average. Now suppose I want to calculate the arithmetic mean of my second data set. So one way of course is simply to add, to write the function which is equal to average and give the range of cells which contain my data. Close the bracket, press enter. That gives me the calculation of arithmetic mean. Alternatively, the same can also be done through the drop down list of AutoSum. So just click on this arrow, drop down arrow that you see, and click on average. You can see it is again assuming the range that is there over this. Click on enter and you will be able to calculate the arithmetic mean. Now third thing that I want to do is I want to count the number of data points, count the number of numeric data points. You can just make a small correction over here. I want to count the number of numeric data points. I want to calculate the number of numeric data points in my data set 3. You can have a look at the data set 3. Most of them are numbers, but you can see one cell is blank and one cell there is a text hello. So let me now just count it using equal to count, and I will select the entire data set. Close my bracket. It is showing me these are 15 cells, out of which 13 have numeric values. So it is showing me 13 as the count. Alternatively, I can also enter this using AutoSum drop down list from here. This count numbers, but you will observe that, like I told you, it is not showing me the entire desired range because there is a break in between. There is a blank cell. So I will have to adjust my range. So simply select the range which you want and then press enter. Then the next thing that I want to do is find the largest number in my dataset 4. So this can be done using max function equal to max. Again, select the entire range. Simply press enter. It shows me the largest value in the dataset, which is 99 in my case. Can be done again through the AutoSum drop down list also. Select max. It already inserts the range. Press enter, you get the result. Min, again equal to min for the smallest value in the last data set. press enter. The smallest value you can see over here, this is the smallest value that is there. And I can also use this auto sum for the same. Auto sum min enter. It is showing me the result. So whenever my data set consists of a row of data or a column of data, it is more convenient to use auto sum because I will not have to enter the range. However, if my data set is not in a single row or in a single column, I can still use auto sum, but then I will have to adjust the range. So it is better to just insert the function directly. And again, what do these functions do? Sum calculates the addition, sum total of the numbers. Average calculates the arithmetic mean. Count calculates the number of numeric data points in my data set. In fact, let me just show you. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to show you. All these calculations are dynamic. Let me just show you. For example, here 14 is written. I'm just going to add a space after this 14 and press enter. Now, sorry. So if I delete it or if I make it into a text, you can see that the formula is auto calculating the results at both places. And this happens sometimes that while we are writing any numbers or while we are doing something by mistake, we may have pressed a key which is a text key, or we may have left something blank. So it automatically, all the formulas will get adjusted if I change any of the values. So auto adjustment recalculation is done automatically by Excel for all formulas for all functions. Now that brings us to the last topic for the day, and that last topic is how to insert the subtotals. So let me just show you how to insert the subtotals. What are the steps? So for inserting subtotals, what are subtotals? Basically, I may have a very large data set. If I want to calculate the total of the entire data set, that can be done using sum function. But sometimes I may want subtotals also. For example, we'll come to the data set that I have. This consists of my data set that I will be using. This consists of data for 4 colleges, students in the college belonging to different courses. Their marks are given and I want to calculate subtotal for each college. And next I will be adding a level and calculating the subtotals for each college for each course also. So one way to do it, I keep checking, which course everybody belongs to, and then I calculate subtotal, apply the sum function. But that becomes very tedious and a very tiresome process if I have a large data set. So Excel allows me to automatically calculate subtotals, and that is what we will learn here. The first step for doing that is to sort my data. So whatever data I have, and I will be sorting it on the basis with which I want to create my subtotals. For example, if I want college-wise subtotals, I will sort the data on the basis of college. Of course, sorting you haven't done, so I'll show you briefly how to sort the data. But detail of sorting will be taken in one of the forthcoming sessions by somebody. So you have to sort your data first. Next, there is a data tab on your ribbon. So we click on that data tab. Under the data tab, there is an outline group of commands. From there, we will select the subtotal command and fill in the parameters in the dialog box that appears and click on OK to create the subtotals. Now let me quickly go back to my Excel sheet, worksheet, and show you how it is done. All right, so this is the sheet, the data with you can refer to. This is the subtotal sheet that I have. As I told you here, I have data for 4 colleges, colleges X, Y, P and Z. So 4 colleges are there. Let me just increase the size of this data so that you can, yeah. So X, Y, Z and P, these 4 colleges I have data. I have the name of the students and I have the courses to which these students belong to. My students belong to 3 courses, English Honours, Maths Honours and Pol Science Honours. And I have their marks, which may be a number or which may be a percentage as you wish. So this is the marks that I have. Now, what I have to do is I want to see that for college X, what is the average marks obtained by the students? For college Y, what is the average marks? For college P, what is the average marks? For college Z, what is the average marks? So first, let me just sort it. The first step is sort my data. So how will I sort my data? I will select the entire data which I have. How will I select it? Simply press my left mouse button and drag it over the range so that the entire range becomes blue. Please make sure that you select it and not copy it. Okay? If you take your cursor to the bottom right corner, it becomes a plus sign, black color plus sign, it will get copied. So that we don't want to do. So select the data. Now from the home tab, you can see over here under editing, there is a sort and filter command over here. Look at the drop down list and click on custom sort. This command shows you, it asks you this checkbox, does it have a header or not? Now my data has a header. By default, this is checked. If your data has a header and it is not checked, you please check it. Then it is showing me how do I want to sort, by which column. So I want to sort it with my college name because that is the basis on which I want to create my subtotals. If I don't have a header in my data, then here I will get the column number, A, B, C, D will be there. Then it asks me sort on what? I want to sort on the values of X of the college name and in what order. Now order, it depends on my wish. I can, in my case, use either ascending or descending, it doesn't matter. I will click on OK. You can see that as soon as I click on OK, my entire data set has rearranged itself. And now it's sorted college wise. You can see that first I have the entire data for college P, then for X, then for Y, then for Z. Once I have sorted my data, now I start inserting the subtotals. For that, I go to my data tab. Under the data tab, as soon as I click on the data tab, my ribbon changes. And I can see this outline group of commands over here. From here, please choose or please click on this subtotal command. So once I click on this subtotal command, you can see that it is showing me this dialog box. So this dialog box is automatically showing me the parameter on which I have sorted the values. It's showing me college name because I've sorted everything on college name. So you can click on this. If it is not showing you the parameter on which you want to create subtotals, you can select it from this drop down list. Now it is saying which function do you want to use? What do you want to calculate? Do you want to calculate the sum total? Do you want to calculate how many numeric values are there? Do you want to calculate average, maximum, minimum, product, number of functions are there? For us, we want to see the average marks. And then it says add subtotal by what? What is to be totaled? Do you want to total the college name? Do you want to total the name of the students, the course or the marks? I want to total the marks. By default, it is showing me marks because in my data, there is only one numeric field. If there were more than one numeric field, then I will have to select the appropriate field whose subtotals I want to calculate. So I will select that numeric field. Now I will simply click on these I will check these boxes, summary below the data I want to see. And this I can, for the time being, this can remain checked. And then I will click on OK. Now you can see that subtotals have been created. You can have a look as you scroll down. After the entire data set of college P, this row has been added. This is showing me the average marks of students in college P. Similarly, as you go down, you can see for college X also here, you can see that subtotal has been calculated for the college X. Similarly for Y and Z, and ultimately it is also showing me a grand total of the marks, grand average. Now, this is how you can create subtotals. Now, before I wind up, I will just show you. Suppose I want to create subtotals on 2 bases, not 1 or multiple bases. So that also follows the similar steps. First of all, let me just remove all subtotals which are currently applied. Now I have removed all subtotals, and now I want that I should get subtotals not only for the college, but also within the college. I want for Maths Honours separate subtotal for P College, then for English Honours P College, Pol Science Honours P College, then for X College I want English Honours, Maths Honours, and so on and so forth. So again, the first step is to sort my data on all the bases on which I want to create the subtotals. So this time I will be sorting it on multiple bases. Going to Home tab, going to Sort and Filter, Custom Sort. One level is already there which I had added. I will add another level by clicking on this tab. This time, after sorting with college, next sorting basis should be course. And again, this sorting is fine, A to Z. Click on OK. Now you can see my data is sorted both according to the college as well as course. So college P, English Honours is shown, then Maths Honours is shown, then Pol Science Honours is shown. And the same is applied for all colleges. Now again, selecting the entire range, going to my data tab, subtotal, apply the first level of total as we did before. Okay. You can see that the first level of subtotals is calculated as it was before. Now again go to subtotals and use the second basis of sorting, which is the course. Again, I want to calculate average for percentage of marks, but this time please uncheck this replace subtotals dialog box. If you do not uncheck it, then the previous subtotals will be deleted and only the subject wise subtotals will be shown to you. So click on OK, and now you can see my data has been, subtotals have been calculated for English Honours of P College, then for Maths Honours, then for Pol Science Honours, then the college average is also shown. And this is done for all the colleges that I had with the grand average at the end. So this was all that I wanted to cover in today's presentation. And now I'll just quickly show you the slide once again for the nested level of subtotals. So sort the data on multiple bases, apply subtotal on the first basis, uncheck the replace subtotal checkbox, apply subtotal on the next basis, and click on OK. So removing subtotals I have already told you. So that is all that I wanted to cover. Your questions are most welcome. Anything that you want to ask, please feel free to do so.
Dr. Shruti, would you like to them to post the questions on chat, or would you like them to be unmuted to ask questions?
Either ways is fine by me. They can either put it, just a second. Yeah, they can put it in the chat, or they can put it, they can ask directly also if it is something that they wish to ask. There's no problem.
Okay. So
Ashima, Miss Ashima wants to know about the count option. So, ma'am, what count does is counts the number of numeric data points in your data set. How does it do it? Suppose there is my data which consists of both numbers as well as non-numeric values. Non-numeric values may be text, non-numeric values may be any blanks. And if I want to just check how many are there, so that later on I can change them or remove them, or simply maybe my objective is only to count, that can be done through count. So you can simply click on OK. You can simply click on equal to, type your formula equal to count. Within the circular brackets, just put the cell range or the values which you want to evaluate as numeric or not, and press enter after closing the brackets. It will tell you within your data range how many are numbers. I hope I don't miss out on any of the questions. So count I've told you. Then how to change the whole table into formula view. Yeah, that you can do using control with, there is a key which looks like an approximation sign. It's called as tilde. It's just on the, just below the escape key on the top left corner of your keypad. If you see, there is a key which looks like an approximation sign, just like you know this kind of a sign you have in maths. So press control along with that key. The entire workbook, the entire worksheet gives you the formula view. This is a toggle button. One time you do it, it becomes the formula view. The second time you do it, it becomes back to the normal worksheet that you have. Yeah, I'm sorry if I was a little fast, but there were some topics to be covered, and I understand that for the first timers it might have been a bit fast. But as you have access to the video, I'm sure you know, you'll be able to view the video again and catch up. So I'm sorry if you found it a little fast. For count function, yeah, it was calculating half the data, Eva, because the problem was that there is a blank in between. So whenever there is a blank cell, it will only take the data which has subsequent numerical values. You will have to select the entire data if you are using AutoSum. That's what I told you, that with AutoSum, that is the constraint, that number one, your data has to be either in a column or in a row. And number two, if there are any blanks in between, then it will not use the entire data set together. You will have to adjust the cell references. Okay, Mr. Rakesh, you want me to explain subtotal again? Okay, for inserting subtotals, I hope you've understood where to calculate that. So the steps for doing that are, number one, you sort your data on the basis which you are using to create subtotals. For example, if you want to use the college-wise subtotals, then you sort your entire data in the order of, arrange your entire data in the order of the college name. Sorting means arranging in ascending or descending order. So you put them all in the same order. And what Excel does is, when you apply subtotals, it sees where the value is changing. As soon as the value is changing, it inserts a subtotal there. So when my college name is changing from P, as soon as it becomes X, it changes and gives me the subtotal below the last P value. How do you do it? You go to the, after selecting the entire data set and sorting it, you go to the data tab. Under the data tab, in the outline group of commands, there is a command called subtotal. Simply click on that command. It opens a dialog box. In the dialog box, it asks you what basis do you want to use for calculating subtotals. So in my case, I wanted to use the college name. Next, it asks you what should be calculated as a subtotal. Marks should be calculated as a subtotal. Then it asks you, whether you want to display all the subtotals. So if you want to retain all the subtotals, you click on yes. If you want to override the previous subtotals, then you click on the right box where it is asking you, to replace the current subtotals. Otherwise, you don't. And then you click on OK. It will show you the subtotals. Yes, in data option, just a second. I just saw a question. And in the data option, when I open no option of subtotal, ma'am, it may be because you haven't selected the data. That's why it may not be showing. But otherwise, in the data tab, if you click on the data tab, under the outline, it will be there. It may be that since you are not showing, you may not have selected the data. So that's why it may not be showing. Alternatively, if you're using a phone and if your ribbon is small, it may be compressed. So not all the tabs may be showing there. So what you will have to do is you will have to see where that drop down option is to see the entire toolbar. It is very much there. If we have merged data, sorry, I keep skipping on the questions. Just a second. count is done. How to change the table, do data option. If you have merged data, can we, I can't see this question. Can I just a second? Yeah. So, there was a question on merging. I don't know, where did it disappear?
So whoever had posted the question on merging, can you quickly repost the question? And for the other
Can you please
participants,
repost the question? I seem to have lost it somewhere in all the
for the other
comments.
participants, please hold on your other non-topic related questions, say questions about next class, etc. Just hold those for the time being and let all the topic related questions be posted. Otherwise, the questions keep getting lost.
Yeah, so Himanshi, why did we put a $ both in front of B4, but why not in front of B only? What was in B4? It was the tax rate which was in B4, if I'm correct. Like I told you, Himanshi, if I'm not copying the formula across the row, if I'm only copying it down the column, then you can use either an absolute reference or a mixed reference. It doesn't matter. Whatever suits your fancy. Mixed references normally we use when we are copying it both across the row and across the column. Because from my experience, people feel more comfortable using either the absolute reference or the relative reference. Mixed they tend to get a little confused with. So I have only used it to explain it to you in which situation mixed is used. In most cases, you can make do with absolute. You will just have to put that formula again and again. That's the only thing. Subject-wise averages, Nehaji. For subject-wise averages, what we did was, first of all, we removed all the previous subtotals. We resorted our data on two bases. That sorting I'm not explaining because it will be explained in a future session. So you have to resort the data on two bases and then again apply subtotals twice. Once for the college, then for the course, if you want both the subtotals. Same process, only uncheck that particular checkbox which is asking you to replace the subtotals. Yeah, I found that merged question. If we have merged data, can we sort out? No, I don't think it works with merging. I don't think it does. You'll have to check, but I don't think it works if you have merged data. Yeah, a hashtag divided by 0 appears at the end of each set when I apply the subtotal. This is a divided by 0 error, and this occurs if you are dividing something by 0. So you may have chosen an average, or you may have chosen a value where it is dividing by 0. There is something wrong with the way you have entered the expression. It is just unable to calculate average, probably because maybe you haven't chosen the data properly. But you can send a screenshot, of what is happening, and maybe I'll be able to help you out with that. I'll have to see your data sheet in order to help you out with that. The sign means you have divided something by 0. Your denominator is 0. Yeah, values and formulas, I think I've already told Namrita, so I hope that helps. Subtotal also I've explained again. I hope everybody's understood. Why did we put a $? That also I've explained. Please tell us how to use F4 and when to press it to change options. Yes, you will ordinarily have to place the cursor in the formula bar while typing. Either while you are typing in the cell itself, you can place, you can press the tab. First of all, you will have to, while entering the cell location, first you click on that cell. Once you click on that cell, then you press F4. It will keep changing. Okay. If you have entered the formula once and then you want to change the reference, then what you will have to do is you will have to use it in the formula bar by clicking there on the cell reference. Place your cursor there and then do it. So either ways you can do it. If you are already entering, then click and press F4, it will work. Also, let me tell you that in some laptop versions, for example in mine, simply F4 will not work. You will have to press it along with the function key. So it depends on what kind of system you are working with, that that F4 key, how it will function. So sometimes it's just F4, sometimes you will have to use it with function along with the F4. Video, I think they will share with you. Can we count the number of boys and girls in the class? For that, you will have to wait for the coming sessions, and you will be learning about the COUNTIF functions. That function will allow you to count the number of boys and girls in the class, Miss Reena. Video is with Mr. Soumyadeep, so I think he'll be sharing it with you. And count function, do we have any other inbuilt? Yes, for string you do, there is a count A function and a count blank function. Count A function allows you to count all the strings except blanks. This is for Galaxy A70, whosoever asked. So you have a count A function which allows you to count both the text as well as numbers. You have a count blank function which allows you to count only the blank cells. So that I have not covered because we had to cover only a few. How to use F4 I have told. Why did we put a $sign that I have told? Suppose we have 10%, can we do without? Yes, of course, sir, you can do it. Of course, Reena ji, you can do it without cell referencing. You can directly enter numbers. The only thing is that later on, suppose you are making a large sheet and you are using it every month for calculating your data set. And later on, the rate of DA or TA changes from say 10% to it becomes 15%. DA keeps changing. In that case, you have to change within the formula. Here, all you have to do is change the value which you've written in that particular cell and things get recalculated. So we use cell references to introduce flexibility in the worksheet so that in future any changes we make, they can be easily incorporated. So I hope I've covered all the questions. If there are still any left, I request you to please repost the question and I'll take it up. I believe I have taken all, but I may have skipped, I may have missed out on any. So I request that if anybody was, if your question was not answered, you can either repost it or you can ask directly, unmute and ask maybe. So I think that Mr. Soumyadeep, I think we can wind up if there are no more questions. Mr. Soumyadeep? All right, thank you everybody. Thanks once again to the Internet College. Thanks to Ramanujan College. And thank you all the wonderful participants who are participating in this workshop. I wish you all the best and I hope that you will gain something out of the workshop which will be useful for you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Shruti, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Yes, who's that? Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Dr. Shruti,
Yeah.
we are so sorry. We could not even give you the proper vote of thanks. I was traveling, and maybe the other team members are not available. So I on behalf of Ramanujan College and Mathematical Sciences Foundation, I actually extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for sparing your invaluable time and teaching us something which is actually from the grassroots level. I'm sure all the participants would have enjoyed equally as much as I have, because personally speaking, I gained a lot of insights from this particular Excel sessions of yours, both the first one as well as this one. And I am sure the participants would also be on the same page with me. They have also enjoyed themselves, and whosoever felt that you were a little fast, I would like to offer an explanation. If ma'am would have been very slow, then she would not have been able to cover all the topics that was actually due for today. So hence the concept of providing you videos. So as soon as you have the recordings, you can practice at your own pace. And ma'am will always be in touch with us. So if at all you have any queries and problems with respect to these two sessions, you can surely share your queries with us, and ma'am will be able to help you better. And thank you so much, ma'am. And it was actually an invaluable session. We gained a lot of information and a lot of hands-on practice from your sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nidhi.
Yeah.
Thanks a
And
lot. I'll exit.
yeah, sure. And the participants who are still tuned with us, I don't know how many of you are there, but whosoever is there, as far as the recordings are concerned, surely we'll be sharing the recordings on Telegram app. I hope that most of you would have accessed the first day's recording. You just need to type #recordings, and the recordings are available to you on the Telegram group itself. And the next session will be on Friday, that is 25th of September, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. If there are any other announcements, take care and see all of you on Friday. Thank you so much. Bye.